Phil,
Steve, and Nick. But this is Nick. And
people are
Steve.
saying we're late. No,
Are
the
we
show
late?
starts when we say we start. We
can't
started
be
right
late.
we started right at 3. So there.
Two.
Three plus 15, 20 seconds. We had to troll Steve. That's why.
That's right.
That's why we were 20 seconds late.
Steve was finishing up the core design for today.
Yeah. He was doing all the clay molding quick, and he had to...
Absolutely.
And he had to rinse his hands with alcohol. So that's why.
So what's going on?
Nothing. Welcome back.
Welcome. Where was I?
Well, you had technical issues again today, but you figured them out all on your own.
Nobody knew that.
I know.
Okay.
You're growing up in the world of technology.
I figured it out. I didn't want to hear you telling me how do this, do that, do this, that, that. So
I told you the one thing, you did it. It only took you 15 minutes to get back, but hey, whatever.
The computer was a little finicky today.
You always talk about your computer like it's a person. Oh,
it
yeah.
It is. I'm one with the computer.
Yeah, computer's lazy today.
So we're going to talk. We have Steve coming on today to talk about some stuff.
Nice. What kind of stuff?
Well, he's going to talk about the. I know he's going to definitely talk about the snapshot core.
Right. Yeah.
Super symmetrical stuff. And then I don't know what else he has up his sleeve or in his bag of tricks.
That's true.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it'll be interesting.
We're in for a treat today.
Put on your nerd hats and get those pocket protectors out.
I mean, mine's already out, but yeah. I mean, what's a nerd hat? Is that one of those colorful hats with little helicopter?
Yeah, I don't know if you call that a nerd hat, but
well,
I didn't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah, apologies to any of our fans that are actually watching that has one of those hats on right now.
I was going to say, I apologize to anybody that wears that.
On a normal basis?
On a normal basis.
I should wear one just normally. I should just walk around the office with it.
I agree. So Steve will be in a little while. We got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we got news. We got a top 5. We got a presentation. We got a giveaway. We got so much stuff going on the show. It's no wonder that we're #1 rated podcast on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. for bowling.
You're right. I keep dropping stuff here. All right, whatever.
What do you say? Let's do some housekeeping.
All right, let's do that. Spin that wheel. We're gonna put a wool box up in a little while. The wool box, we all know, you put your name in it. And then Nick at around 3 o'clock, my time, 4 your time.
Maybe before that. I don't know.
Right. He'll pick a name, and you have to be in the show to win.
Yeah. We're gonna call you out, and if you don't check in, guess what?
New name.
You don't win.
You don't win. New name. And then the new name guy, whoever it is, girl, gets picked. And we spin the wheel, and if you don't like the prize, you get one more spin.
There you go.
If you get grip sack twice, you get another spin.
So you're going to get 3 spins if you get 2 grip sacks. And if you get grip sack a third time,
you get a grip sack.
Triple grip sack.
Triple grip sack. You can hand them out if you're on a 3-man team. You can all have the same grip sack. You matching grip sacks.
There we go. All right.
Do a practice spin. I'm going to take...
I put some spider tack all on the good ones, so...
I bet you did. I'm going to take Clear Magic.
I'm going grip sack.
Is that still on the board, Clear Magic?
Yeah, of course it is. It's right here.
Right.
See?
Yeah,
hold on. This way. Clear Magic. Brought to you by... Clear
Brought
Magic.
To you by the only plant-based cleaner in the industry.
Come on, grip sack. #1.
Clear Magic.
Grip sack. Grip. Here it comes.
Just to show it works.
Oh, it went right over it. Dang, see air pads.
All right.
That's
a really good gifts. That's a good gift.
It's the #1 rated gift that people send back on the first try.
All right, let's do some we'll do some breaking news.
It is time for the breaking news. Striking news even.
It's the striking news. Bowling news and views from around the world with your hosts, Brunsnick, and Phil Cardinelli. It's the Striking News.
I'm loving it.
Striking news. So yesterday, I think the news came out that there's a new sponsor with the PBA, or I guess they're a sponsor, right? It's they're the official athletic sock of the PBA.
Hey.
So I did a little research. It's pretty cool. It's called John's Crazy Sock. It's the official athletic sock of the PBA. And they got some pretty cool socks. I did go look at their website. I got some neat stuff. And they support the Special Olympics. A lot of their donations go to Special Olympics. Each employee of the company has different abilities. The socks come with a thank you note.
Nice.
And some candy.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm gonna go check out those socks.
Yeah, you got to check them out. They have some pretty cool socks. I like some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go out there and look at them. It's called John's Crazy Socks.com.
Nice. Now they are the official sock of the PBA Tour. How about that?
That's right. Athletic sock.
Athletic sock.
Right. So if you wear a non-athletic sock,
I mean, I prefer to wear wool socks when I bowl. I don't know about you.
Really? Wool socks?
Yeah, it's winter.
That's true. Kyle Troop and Packy Packy are the ambassadors of the brand. That's pretty. Yeah. Speaking of Packy, he bowled over in Hong Kong, China, as they call it when you're over there. They don't call it China; it's China.
Is that true?
He's on the USA team, and the team got bronze. Packy got bronze in the single. Men's team got bronze, and Packy got bronze in the singles. Packy bowled with Chris Prather, Matt Russo, and Chris Vi. And they got bronze. On the women's side, it's pretty cool. We have two women that were on our stabs. And the women got gold.
Nice.
Yeah, Brianna Cote, Jillian Martin, Shannon Pulaski, and Lauren Russo.
Very cool.
Got the gold. So they did pretty well over there in that part of the world. So that's it.
Good for Team USA.
Absolutely.
They were there for a while. It seemed like there was a lot of content on the sport of bowling.
Right, exactly right.
At all hours, because they're way ahead of us in time.
They are.
I'd be ready to go to bed, and they're just starting to do warm-ups for their.
I used to go over to the Orient, go to Asia a lot.
Okay.
And it's interesting because the first day you get there, you're exhausted because you're traveling like 87 hours.
Right.
From when you wake up.
How many different flights is it? Like, where do you like?
Well, okay. So when I would go, I go from San Antonio to Dallas.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So that's an hour. Not a big deal. Right.
Because you need to get to a bigger plane.
Yeah. So you get to Dallas. And then when I first started going, they didn't have the 777s. So it was slower. It was to Japan was probably 15 hours, 14 and a half, 15 hours.
That's rough.
It's funny because you get on a plane and you're like, all right. And I like watching movies. So, I look through the thing on your personal screen, all the movies, I got them lined up. And then you'd watch 3 movies.
And you still got half the flight to go.
Still got 8 hours.
Ah.
And the thing is, you gotta try to get sleep. But, I leave my house at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's hard to get sleep, right? So then you land, and you might land early in the day. And then the customer picks you up and they take you to the hotel, and you really can't go to sleep. You got to stay awake.
I've never been able to sleep on a plane, not for any amount of time.
I got good at it. But when you get there, you got to go to sleep. You want to go to sleep, but you can't. So you stay awake, you go to dinner, you have some meetings, whatever you got to do. And then that night you crash. And here's the problem.
Yeah.
You fall asleep at 10:30, and at 1 o'clock, you are wide awake, and you felt like you were sleeping for 8 hours, and you slept for 2.5 hours. Now you put TV on, and there's not one English channel. When I was going originally, there's not one English channel. except CNN would be on. So and how many times can you watch that, right? And then you keep looking for any movie that's got subtitles.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, but the worst part of that trip was I would go from Dallas to Narita in Japan, but then I would go to Korea first. So here's this beautiful trip. You go from San Antonio to Dallas to Narita, 3-hour layover.
Okay.
Then flight to Korea.
Okay.
A 4-hour flight. That was my travel day. Then you get to Korea. Now coming home, you go Korea, Narita, do your business there, and then fly to Dallas and then home. But the second day at 2:00 in the afternoon, you're a zombie. I mean, your time is 12-hour difference. You're upside down. And so usually by the third or fourth day that you're over there, you're sort of caught up a little.
And then it's time to leave.
Well, maybe you stay there. You're over there 5-6 days, then you come home. And when you come home, you get home about, I don't know, 10:00 in the morning. And you can't even keep your eyes open.
Dang.
Yeah. I'm usually watching King Kong movies, Mighty Joe Young, Three Stooges, 2:00, 3:00 in the morning.
No wonder why you watch King Kong movies all the time. Because
I love
that's all you had to watch over there.
I love the original one. It's one of my favorite movies. So, anyway, that was the news.
That was the news.
That was the news.
This would be the time where I bring Steve in. Yeah. I lost him for a sec, but he's here now. So let's bring in the star of the show. What do we got, Steve?
Steve, how are you?
I'm good. How's everybody?
Good.
Oh, we're great, Steve. How are you doing?
Oh man, it's been I started the day off with my wife's car not starting.
Oh boy.
So it's been one of them.
New battery time.
Delay at school, which I hate because the kids are crazy, and so yeah, I've taken my alcohol hand sanitizer bath ready to go here.
Well, yeah. I mean, because you were doing last minute projects and building that next core out of clay, right?
Yep, yeah, that too.
He's Michelangelo of core design.
Out of snow here lately. We've had a lot of snow.
Did you get? You didn't get any more, did you?
Just a little bit. But last week on Sunday night we got, I don't know, 9 or 10 inches or so. So it covered the back roads, and so the buses couldn't get through. So I was off all week last week.
You guys have good snow plows and all that stuff?
Yeah, normally, yeah. But
okay.
It dropped to, in the teens, a high of 20, and it wasn't melting, and so I had that was right at the end of my 2-week vacation for Christmas and New Year's. So
got an extra week.
More time.
I got an extra week. Yeah. So I did some, I've been studying no thumb layouts so much. I was getting ready for this, and I opened up a file last night just to make sure all my numbers are right. And I thought, I've been studying no thumb stuff for so much, I saw the thumb hole and I thought I opened the wrong file. So I got a little panicky.
It's a good thing you didn't go all deleting on everything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's good. So what are we talking about today? What's the topic on hand? What are we discussing?
Well, hopefully I don't bore you. I have a little bit of new stuff. I kind of have a little bit of ties into the no thumb. I've been buried in no thumb layouts. Buried. Okay. Like it's challenging.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
It's so challenging. And for me, the great thing is, and I talked to Brian Buckosh, I saw him in here, but I talked to him today during my some free time. And I purposely don't look at the other company's equipment. Like I want to keep radical. And I want what happens in my mind happen in my mind.
Yeah.
So, I forget what I was saying. I totally just lost everything.
You were talking about no thumbers.
Yeah, you want to make radical. What does
And
that
you don't
mean?
want to look at any other
Oh
company.
yeah,
Brian
so
Buckos.
yeah, so I started down this path, and then eventually I needed to talk to Brian, and it turned out that I had been going down the same path that Brian's been going down.
Oh boy.
And then when I found his calculator, his online calculator that you get on Deviate's website, I have used that calculator hundreds of times, different layouts, and
Yeah.
it has saved me so much time.
So it's really good. We recommend that.
Oh yeah, because I did 30 or 40 layouts and then got the dual angles off of it.
Right.
And I don't want to go too much into details, but working up this new system, I laid out on the ball at least 40 layouts and then got the dual angles. And then I talked to Brian and I was like, well, maybe I ought to look into the calculator. And I'd start plugging in all the same numbers of calculator, and all the work was already done. It matched exactly.
That's perfect.
So I've been able to use his calculator to help me. And
he didn't charge you. He didn't charge you for that, did he?
Didn't charge me yet. I'm still waiting for the invoice. But
I get an invoice for using the calculator.
Yeah.
Special calculator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, cool. So what do you want to talk about today?
I'm going to post the WooBox link real quick. Sorry. Post the WooBox link one more time before we get into everything. I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint. That way we have it.
All right.
He just came over from Korea. Yeah, I feel like it. I'm telling you, it's been a day and a half here. I hate 2-hour delays at school. But anyways, we're going to talk about, we're just a very basic today. I got some stuff at the end that I actually haven't even showed you guys yet. So
it's surprise stuff coming.
Oh, I peeked at it, so I looked at it.
Did you?
Of course I did. I got to proofread it.
Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, that's a good picture. There's another good picture.
Yeah, the first half is very is review really.
Okay. Well,
I had some different pictures than the last presentation, but the snapshot's really what I'm excited to talk about.
Well, let's breeze. Let's breeze through some of the review, and you got one of the cores.
Yeah.
Well, let's show that on screen real quick. How about that?
Yeah, it's a little. You can't. I mean, this is the view that you get on the.
That's a snapshot.
That's snapshot.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna post a Buckosh video on Monday for Radical Rundown. He's talking about that core.
Yeah,
and
you
everything.
Guys did that today, right?
We filmed it just Monday. Filmed it Monday.
I talk about drillings a little bit.
Did we talk about drillings? Yes. We talked about mostly where mass is taken out and how to avoid it, and how CG actually matters a little bit on this ball.
Don't say that too many times.
CG matters. CG matters.
The locator matters.
Yes, I've seen the PAL system, and D Fresh is on it. There is he wrote Baby Katana Core, and we'll talk about snapshot in a second. But yes, you're right. There is some similarities there.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, let's get into this.
Yes, Don. Yeah. So the outer limits is. We covered the outer limits Pearl when it was out, so nothing really new here. I have some new pictures in the next couple screens. I added a diff ratio because I wanted to talk about the diff ratio a little bit, or just at least point it out.
Okay.
So I kept the undrilled diffs up top so we could compare the after drilling numbers. So this went up 012 and 008. So our intermediate actually went up more than our total diff. And that's going to be typical. The last time I had some see-through pictures, and I thought that was confusing to look at.
So what do you have here? You have different layouts, and then you're showing the changing the diffs, right?
Yeah, just our suggested layouts, most versatile layout.
Right.
And the intermediate only went up a little bit, and then as we get to some of the smoother motions, we have less diff ratios.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, I'm assuming everyone, if not, I'll just remind you that the diff ratio is the intermediate diff divided by the total diff. Mo added on the performance diff.
Yeah.
There are a couple years before he passed away. So that's slightly different, but very similar.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of, this is all on the internet. This is, there's not much new here with the outer limits. I didn't want to spend a lot of time because I was just the super symmetricals and the things that we're going to be able to do and continue to do is, a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been telling people that the super symmetrical is a sort of bridge between a symmetrical and an asymmetrical. It gets you a little more shape down lane, a different hook window, but it's not as dramatic as an asymmetrical would be. That's how I've been trying to explain it to people, because there's a lot of people that can't throw asymmetricals, because their ball speed or their rev rates or whatever it is, without trick drilling them. So you could take a super symmetrical and you probably can do a lot more with it.
Yeah, it kind of lands you in that spot. The intermediate's not going to go over 020 with a snapshot.
Right.
So, a lot of those asymmetrical balls, they start out kind of where this one finishes up. But after drilling, a lot of those drillings, put you over 020s on the intermediate. All right, Steve, what are we talking about snapshot here?
Well, now you got me wondering, what was the for the outer limits? I'm looking at my version here. For the outer limits, it was 026, 059 for the max flip layout. So
right.
This,
and over
this
here
max
you get
flip
18.
layout, which is the same layout, 70 by 3.5 by 20. It's only 1856. So
right.
So we can.
Yeah, but also the total diff went up 6 with that drilling. I don't know what it went up on the outer limits.
8.
It went up 8, so it goes up less.
Yes, it goes up less.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people, so many people will just look at the numbers, but to me, I don't pay so much attention to the numbers as it's the shape. Okay. The shape is like, I've said this numerous times. I'm sure I do the same thing in my classroom. I'll say something over and over again, and I know people don't completely understand exactly what I'm saying because I don't give very much information, but just
breadcrumb them.
The shape of the core has such a huge consequence of the motion.
Okay.
And for symmetrical balls, especially now that we're getting into some shapes, like D Fresh said that this looks like baby katana. Well, when I started to build this core, we took a little bit of the request was, let's bridge off of the katana core.
Right.
But for me, I also knew some magical types of things are happening with the hitter core. And so I threw a little bit of that type of technology in there to enhance this ball. Even though it's symmetrical, there are some of the technology, some of the shape technology, some of the core build itself is helping this ball. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I feel like I'm all out of sorts today, but
show the core a little bit more. Talk about the core. Talk about the different pieces of it.
Yeah, I mean, I still have the nose, which is kind of like, when you look at this top, it kind of does look like the Katana series, the Ridiculous series.
Yep.
But then when you look at the bottom half, I'm kind of getting towards the hitter a little bit in a way. Yeah. It's shaped a little bit different, but I'm getting some mass at the bottom. Mo used to always, he used to talk to me, especially in the beginning, about paper dolls. And I know there's some guys in here who've heard him talk about the paper dolls. And he would take a picture and of the core, and he would fold it. And what he was doing when he folded it, he was trying to determine, we would try to determine where mass might be up here as compared to where it is on the opposite side of the core.
Right.
To get, it's not always about where you put mass. Sometimes it's about where you take mass away.
Yeah.
So the shape of the core is just.
And that's intentional. You're doing that intentionally.
Yeah. Absolutely.
With the anticipation of where you're going to put holes and where you're going to remove the mass.
Yes. And so everyone here, I'm sure almost everyone knows that we use these noses to get because we're going to drill in there. And that's going to increase our intermediate and total diff.
Right.
Okay.
That's where you blow up the diff.
That's where we blow up the diffs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what we're starting to learn is that we've been learning, but we're really starting to fine tune how these bottom type pucks and how these bottom of the core is actually accentuating some of the things that are happening up on top of the core.
Okay.
So every iteration, man, we just keep learning and we keep building upon it and do better the next time. And
well, that's what I want to touch on. That's exactly what it's important. We start out back in the beginning of time with, say, the Ridiculous core, and that was a really great core for us, and that was one of our top selling balls, the Black Ridiculous. And then from that has come more iterations that modified that core. And we keep going and going and going till we get to a point where we're saying, hey, wait a second now we can make a symmetrical ball and every ball becomes, I hear this every time, and you and I spoke about this. We hear this every time. Oh, once you drill a ball, it becomes asymmetrical. All right, it does. To what degree? And what did you put in it before to make that happen, and how much can you enhance that? And that's something that the super symmetricals are really taking advantage of, that knowledge that we have. We're able to make a shape. It's symmetrical when it starts. You put a hole in it, and then it becomes asymmetrical, but to a bigger degree than, say, most of our competitors' symmetrical balls would. And on top of that, they can't even tell you because they don't post it. They don't publish it. They don't know what their after drilling numbers are, and we do that so that you can look at a diff ratio or an intermediate diff and tune it into your game. And that's why I laugh when people say, well, it's a symmetrical ball, everything becomes asymmetrical. To a degree, but we take it to the next level.
Right.
And one core is based off the other core. Going forward, we've been doing that. What we learn last, we take, and we learn more put it on top of it.
Yeah, I think the difference, though, is, okay, the super symmetrical does have quite a bit of intermediate diff, but say you use a max flip layout on that, when it spins, it's still going to spin to the thumb. Is that correct, Steve? On the max flip?
Yeah.
That is correct?
Yeah, sure is.
And say if you were going to take, the outer limits and use like a 45-degree mass bias, so it's away from the thumb, and you drill holes in it, where is it going to spin to? It's going to spin to the mass bias still, right? Or somewhere in between mass bias and thumb.
That's
somewhere
a good point.
Yep.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So it's and that's going to affect your pin to spin line, right, when the ball begins to rev up.
Man, it looks like you looked at the end of my presentation today.
I didn't.
He cheated. He doesn't know this stuff.
I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Good. Well, before you talk about that, I'm going to post the WooBox link one last time. Actually, not one last time.
Put your name in it. Put your name in the WooBox. If you're a staff member, don't do it. 3 o'clock or so, 4 o'clock your time. Pick a winner. If you're in the show, you can win. If you're not in the show,
we don't know you.
La vista, baby.
Yep. New rules for 2025.
New rules for 2025. The committee voted, and
we're the committee, by the way.
We're the committee, but yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of great questions, by the way, already happening.
Let's get to them near the end.
Yeah, we'll get to them. We'll go through the presentation, and we'll get the questions after. So go ahead and keep posting them. So don't try to get too distracted by questions. So let's get through this. We'll do a top 5.
Best.
Yeah,
I have a difficult time with that.
Don't look at them.
You can collapse the questions, by the way, I believe. So you can take them off screen.
Yep.
All right. ADD boy.
Yeah, I know. So very good call on that. So
thank God you are, by the way.
And I'm also going to remind you that as this ball is traveling down the lane, the axis migration is moving. So the rotation of mass is changing. And what we're finding that we can do is manipulate these symmetrical core shapes and we can do this with asymmetrical course shapes too, but we can change these symmetrical course shapes to maximize our axis rotation as it's going down the lane, so that we can get more of an asymmetrical motion out of it. But I'm going to also show you how we can get a more symmetrical layout. Okay, so here's our two. He skipped to the second one here, the second to 75. What, can you go back one slide? Sure. Just to make sure that people realize, look where the thumb is at.
Mm-hmm.
The thumb is in line with the pin through the CG line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
yeah, and that's 6 3/4 from the pin through the CG. 6 3/4 puts your mass in the nose.
Right.
Put your thumb hole rather in the nose.
Right, and that ball will spin up if you put it on the determinator. The ball, the high RG axis is going to be right in the thumb. It's not going to move.
Right.
It might move, you know.
Yeah.
1/8 of an inch maybe.
Right, but that's where you get the maximum change in diff and total diff.
Right, and those diffs went up to 1856, and for the max flip layout for the outer limits, it was 2659. So a little bit of difference.
Yeah.
Diff ratio of only 32 as compared to the outer limits, which was 44. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Versatile.
Most versatile. And these layouts are different for asymmetrics, but notice again where the thumb's at.
It's in the nose.
The thumb is in a very stable position for this layout.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very similar layout for those who are watching. There's not a big change in numbers.
Right.
But, you know, it also reflects in the intermediate and the total diff after drilling. So when they say, oh, how much do I have to change the pin to see a measurable amount of difference? Yeah. Well, this is going from 3.5 to 4 and changing your VAL from 30 to 20, and that's what you get from 1856 to 1754. Yeah. So
not a big difference.
Not a big difference.
Right.
But I know where the PSA is going to land on that ball.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And so again, I'll point it out on this one, even our smoother motion. Notice how far away that the 80-degree drilling angle places that PAP all the way. Look how far it is away from that pin to spin line.
Mm-hmm.
That pin to spin line, when that axis crosses that pin to spin line, is where that ball wants to rev up the most.
That's hoping you get there if you got enough revs.
Very true.
Right.
Very true. Yeah, good call.
And then the short pin, which we use in Throwbot on all the symmetricals. And
notice again that thumb is in a stable position. And what I mean is, look, back in the day, I always, man, especially when we were allowed to have balance holes, I hated studying symmetrical course because I had to always find the PSA. I always marked it on the ball. So I had to go, I knew what the drilled mass properties were without finding the PSA on the ball because SolidWorks would give that to me. But I wanted to mark it, and I don't have a marked on this ball, but I will on soon. But I know where the PSA is going to land at on here because it's not going to move. It might move up 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, but it's not going to hardly move at all.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a nice thing about our suggested layouts for the symmetrical balls, because we're not guessing. Okay. We're not guessing. And so now what Phil and I are in conversations about is we're going to add to our layout sheet. Right, Phil?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're going to tell you where to put the thumb, basically, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
To create more versatility to show what's possible with our course. So here's a couple ideas. And there's like 3 slides to go along with here. So I don't know if you want to post a Woo box and take a quick.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple options: 30 by 3.5 by 30, and a 30 by 3 3/4 by 45. Not a huge difference, but there is a difference, and I'll show you even more of a difference here in a couple of minutes. But
so how? Let me, because people are going to ask this question: 30 by 3.5 by 30. What motion would you expect out of that ball?
Well, the PAP is closer to the pin to spin line, so it's going to want to start up earlier.
Okay.
But you got a very small VAL angle, so it should be a fairly quick going through the motions ball. Should go through the phases fairly quick.
Okay.
Both of them in a way.
Yeah.
But the big but is that thumb is about 3.5 inches left of the pin to spin line.
Right. So you missed that. So you don't blow up the diff.
I don't blow them up at all.
Absolutely. I see that. The diff is 008 as opposed to 018 with the max flip drilling.
Right.
So the total diff didn't change that much on that first one. It only went down a couple of points.
Right.
From the max flip. It went from 56 to 51.
Right. And it basically stayed the same from undrilled.
Yes. Yeah. So see that what Steve's saying is, we're going to stop. He and I have spoke about this a little bit, and we're going to help with the drillings on some of these things to give you, give the fans, the bowlers, and the pro shops a better opportunity to understand what's going to happen and how you can control it. 3.5 inches misses the knob, and that does not change the intermediate diff. This keeps you closer to symmetrical, and I even say it would be, and this is crazy to say it this way, that makes it even less symmetrical than if you drilled a symmetrical ball, the way they suggested. We've actually taken almost no intermediate diff by putting the thumb in that spot. So, that's a way to control your hook window.
Yeah, it just goes to show that the CG swinging it out basically is what you're doing, because the pin distance 3.5 is the same as your max flip layout.
Pin distance is identical. That's right.
But by swinging that thumb around and missing that nose, you're not taking out that same mass, and now you're not changing the numbers around on the intermediate.
Let's touch on that for 1 second. So people talk about drilling a symmetrical ball, and they say, well, the only thing that really matters is your pin, your PAP to your pin. Well, we say nay, because what you have now is that pin is still 3.5. It's the same as it was on a max flip drilling, and the numbers aren't even near each other. So it's where you put the thumb.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not just the pin to pap on symmetrical balls, at least not on ours. Because we're the technical company. I have proof. He's on the screen with us. Not Nick.
Hey. Rude. Want to go next slide?
No, I just want to point out that the other drilling is really close. I mean, the VAL angle is a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So since the little bit higher VAL angle, it rotates your fingers, your thumb and fingers, so that the fingers are actually a little bit closer to the pin. So you're drilling into the top of the core a little bit more. Look, those are not very large variation of numbers in those layouts, but you're talking about an 051 total diff versus an 045 total diff.
Right, and the pin is just a 1/4 of an inch away from where it was on the other drilling.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot of points, but that's almost 15%, isn't it?
It's a lot.
It's a fair amount.
Yeah. Well, next slide.
Good stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's look at this one.
So this is the ball from before on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And the ball's covering up the numbers, but I remember what that is. I calculated where the PSA moved and where the pin moved, because the low RG axis moves. Every time you drill fingers, the low RG axis is going to move just because the system is changing. And so that ball, the PSA rotated around towards the thumb it was 32 degrees, which means, and I calculated what I could in SolidWorks, and then I laid it out on the ball. That layout became a 55 by 3 1/4 by 30, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was by 30.
So the pin basically moved a 1/2 inch after drilling, or I should say the low RG is what you're saying.
The low RG.
The low RG more. Yeah, it moved. Yeah, about 1/2 inch.
Okay.
Yep. But so, and I wanted to put this slide on there because our suggested layouts keep the PSA pretty locked. Like it's not going to have much variation. I know where it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, based upon the shape of the core for this ball, the PSA shifted basically 32 degrees. It changed the drilling angle from 30 to 55. But for other shapes, I know it's going to be, maybe not as much as that. Maybe a little bit more than that. I don't know. It just depends upon the core shape.
Yeah.
But
and this is the second generation for us for super symmetricals. We have a lot more we're working on. Once we opened up this little Pandora's box here, we've been having a lot of fun. We're talking about a lot of new things, and obviously adding another dimension to the drill sheets is going to really put us way ahead of where everybody else is when it comes to after drilling and predicting ball motion. The worst thing in the world is a guy drills a ball and it didn't perform the way he wanted, and that's simply because the company of the ball he drills from didn't give him enough information about core shape, where to put the thumb, where not to put the thumb, pin to pap, and so on and so forth. And to me, it's just wasting your money. If you're going to drill one, you might as well get it right. It's and then there's only one aspect. Obviously, you got to adjust cover stocks and stuff like that to tune that ball in for you. But having the knowledge of where to drill the thumb hole as an indicator on how that ball is going to perform and what it's going to do to the intermediate and total diff is huge. And we challenge the other companies to try to play along with this game, and they just can't do it.
Yeah, Steve, explain a little bit what you did here. Just kind of dumb it down a little bit. So the black pin, that's the original starting point, and the red dot that's associated on the black line is the original mass bias, correct?
Right. So the black lines are the original drilling angle. And so the black pin is the black dot is the original low RG. It's the original pin. It would remain to be the pin even after drilling. It's the pin locator.
Mm-hmm.
So the red dot at the end of the black line was the original PSA, or I guess 6 3/4 from the pin through the CG.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's exactly in line. The CG is hopefully exactly in line. And then after drilling, the PSA rotated that 32 degrees to the left. So if you spun it on a determinator, it's going to spin up at the smaller red dot on the dotted red line. That doesn't look very dotted red line, but it's a dashed red line.
The intent was there.
Yes.
maybe make it a different color next time.
I'll have to next time. But yeah, that's where on the determinator it'll spin up right there. And the bigger dot at the top is where the low RG shifted to. It shifted away. The low RG always shifts away from the fingers because you're increasing. When you drill any hole, you increase the RG about that location. So,
right, so it's moving away from it.
Yeah. So when you drill the fingers, you're increasing that RG, which pushes the low RG away from it a little bit.
So if you were to go like pin directly above the finger, say like an inch, it would move the low RG further up, is what you're saying, away from the pin.
Yes. Yes. Assuming that the PSA moved up a little bit. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing I noticed with the PSA on the drilled ball here is it did not go all the way to the thumb.
Oh, no. Yeah. Good call. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I used to think it would do that too. And it'll stay right around the equator. It might move up I don't know if I've ever seen it move up more than 1/2 of an inch.
Mm-hmm.
It normally goes up, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, but it'll stay on that equator primarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Otherwise, man, you talk about insanity. It would be wow, if you could get them to move, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
See what I'm thinking? That's yeah.
I'm gonna look at the slide before here, and the slide before and after. Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide. We got another one.
Yeah. All right, so I just kept thinking last night, like, what else can I give people? What else can we talk about? And so I thought, I was thinking, I was going right back to my no thumb work, and I know Brian and the Deviate clan, the crew there, they have recommended 3-inch fingers. So I thought, let's see what happens with the 3-inch fingers. And so I marked out the original and put in bold, I put the diffs for 3-inch fingers.
Wow.
And look how symmetric that 30 by 3 3/4 by 45.
Yeah.
004.
Yeah, I was always pretty much the deeper you went with fingers, the more you reduced flare. So you're dropping the total differential. It was kind of a cheater way to, change the way the ball flared without using extra holes.
Yes.
And the thumb's kind of the opposite, where the deeper you go with that, to an extent, because you can only go so deep before having negative gains.
Right.
Is, I don't know what that number is, 4 inches. I'm not sure the exact number, but
it's 3 5/8. Or
I was gonna say once you go past
there,
around 3 1/4 is where it stops being an impact. 3 3/4, right?
I mean, unless you drilled a 7-inch hole, which we used to do those experiments because
we've done it. We've done it
back in the day. The mow hole.
Yep, we've done
goodness.
it.
So last night after I did this, I thought, well, let's go 4-inch fingers. And on the ball on the right, when I went to 4-inch fingers, it dropped it to 0035, 0405.
Oh, so hard. Okay.
So barely any drop at all, which is why I didn't put it on which is why I don't think I made a slide for it. Because it was, you're getting past, like what were you just saying? You're getting past that 3 5/8, 3 1/2. You're getting past that.
Yeah.
Right. Back when static weights were measured and checked, when 1 ounce rule, then that's the only reason you'd have to do that, is to take out actual weight to get legal again. Say you had a lot of finger weight or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But not changing the dynamics of the ball so much by doing it, but getting it back under that 1 ounce. Now we don't have to worry about that. You got 3 ounces to work with.
Right. So yeah, I like these two layouts here. I like the one on the right more because I have more variation of what I can do with it. I can get more variation out of it. But because the finger, you can see the location of the fingers, because the fingers are basically going into the top of the core, I can decrease those diffs by deeper finger holes. If I would have drilled my thumb, well, of course that thumb is already 3 inches, so I can't get too much, but I could counteract some of that by drilling the thumb hole deeper. I can increase the diff and total diff by making the thumb hole deeper.
Right. But if you don't want to do that, you can lower the diffs by drilling the finger holes past the 3 and up to at least 3 1/2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Excellent. I'm going to post the WooBox link one last time. And
really?
I think we're
You're getting a little skimpy on the WooBox post, aren't you?
What do you mean? We got 10 minutes left until the entries close.
Yeah, I know.
And I think it's time to do top 5. Then we'll get into questions. How's that sound?
Let's do the top 5, and then we'll do some questions. Was that the last slide?
That was the last slide. Yep.
Perfect.
All right. So since we talked about sponsors today for the PBA Tour, I wanted to take a walk back in time for the top PBA sponsors of all time. Ready?
I'm ready. Top 5 PBA sponsors of all time.
And the number one might actually surprise. We got a fun story to go with it, but
okay.
we'll talk about it. Number 5, Denny's.
You know,
this one's kind of near and dear to my heart because when I joined the PBA tour, or when I joined as a member, they were the title sponsor at the time, so we had to wear the big patch.
That's right.
I still have a Denny's patch, PBA patch at home, a couple of them. Yeah. But before that, it was like Wild Turkey Bourbon or something like that for the.
I was going to say they had some. I should go back and one day and look up all of the PBA sponsors that they had.
Oh man,
yeah, Firestone was one of the best ones. I mean, that was the longest that I remember.
Yeah.
But you're right; they've had some quick turnovers in the last couple of years.
Quick change
artists.
All right, number 4, Ford. This is a long time ago.
I don't even remember that. Ford being a sponsor of the PBA.
I thought you were a founding member of the PBA.
Yeah, I don't remember Ford.
Yeah, it was back in the early days of the PBA tour.
Do you remember how early?
In the 60s.
Yeah, I was a youngster then.
That was back when Ford versus Ferrari was just starting out, and they came out with the Mustang, which was a secretary's car. I
remember that. I remember, according to what's his name?
Get rid of the inline 6.
Get the Bulldog.
Somehow lose 500 pounds. But then I'm still gonna buy a Chevy Chevelle. What a great movie!
I watched it again the other night. It was on. I watched it. I like that movie a lot.
All right, number 3. Here we go. True Value.
I remember True Value. They were around for a little bit. True Value Hardware was good. Yeah, that was a good sponsor.
It was a great sponsor.
Yeah, I wish we had sponsors like that again.
Yeah,
but we don't.
I remember. I mean, not with True Value, but going back to like regional days, we had to wear the patch for whatever sponsor was. It changed. The patch was either on our right sleeve or it was on the back of our neck. So
I used to wear it over my right eye when I bowled.
Yeah, and then when those sponsorships went away, we still had the patches on our shirts, and you can't just rip them off because, they're all the adhesive stays on. So everybody would just stack on another patch, onto the next.
So by my 10th year, my right side was heavier than my left side.
I was asymmetric going on the lane. No, because if you pulled off the patch, it was nothing but just residue, and so
that's right.
And I always, because I washed my shirts with the patch on them, I didn't put a new patch on them, so I actually had them sewed on so they wouldn't come off in the wash.
Right.
So number 2.
Did you do that with your ABC patches and USBC patches when you got them from like Junior League? Put them on your shirt?
No, I didn't do that.
I think you did.
I got all my patches still, but they're just in a display.
I think you put them on your shirt. I think you were that guy.
Wasn't that guy, but hey.
Okay.
I mean, there are folks around that wear all their 300 rings, like one on every finger. I've seen that before.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's the equivalent of the patch kid, huh?
Yeah, nowadays.
Firestone. What do you got to say about Firestone, Phil?
Well, you know what? I mean, that was a true PBA spot. They were from Akron, Ohio. That's where the PBA was. This was the good PBA. When they really had an organization that was looked up to, and being a title sponsor like Firestone. I mean, they have the Rubber Bowl is down there where they had a stadium. Akron was the I guess the founding spot for the PBA, obviously, but the community embraced it. When the Tournament of Champions was at Riviera Lanes, it still is now, but originally the Firestone Tournament of Champions, when you went down the main road, all of the players that were in the Tournament of Champion that year, they had a plaque, a big plaque on each light pole on the road on both sides going towards the bowling center. So you knew who was bowling in the tournament that year. That's how embracing it was.
What years do you think they were sponsors? Do you remember?
Oh, I know it was in the 80s still.
Yeah.
So it had to have been for at least 20 years.
Yeah, it was a long time. I don't remember the exact when it stopped.
Well, when it stopped is what we'll get to next. And
I know. But the guy that was the CEO, the president of Firestone, became the commissioner, and I can't remember his name. the PBA commission. I can't remember his name. Somebody can look that up, I'm sure. But anyhow, that was great.
And the number one sponsor, does anybody know? And this is going to be coming as a surprise to a lot of people, I think. But we're about to put some education on the chat today. But number one sponsor of all time, what do you guys think it is? Anybody?
I know. Oh, not me. Yeah.
All right, we'll give a Olive Garden. Someone said Olive Garden, of course.
Olive Garden, of course. Brought to you by Unlimited Soup and Salad.
Here it is. Number one.
Number one.
Brunswick.
Yeah, and tell them the story.
All right. So we're going to go back to the 90s. And Firestone, which had been around as a title sponsor for many, many years, gets bought out by Bridgestone. And Bridgestone is a Japanese company. They have no interest in sponsoring the PBA Tour anymore. So now they have an issue. Like the PBA, they lost their ABC deal. And all of a sudden, they're not going to have a tournament champions that's going to pay anything. So they're basically going to fold. You know, this is what, 97, 98?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't find another sponsor. So they're pretty much done at that point. So Jack Reichert, Brunswick CEO at the time, steps in with an offer for the PBA. 3-year sponsorship deal. Not only going to take care of the TOC, but they're going to name it the World Championship, Brunswick Tour World Champion. They had their own tournament going on.
Right.
So they sponsor the TOC and give them a 3-year deal, $1 million a year, 3 years, saves the PBA, and that is Brunswick's sponsorship. They are the number one sponsor of all time because if they didn't do that,
there wouldn't be a PBA.
There would not be a PBA.
That's exactly right. Yep. And for that gracious generosity, we get higher product registration fees.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's
Business
wonderful.
101.
Yep. No good deed goes unpunished.
That's exactly right.
So that's the story of
the backstory on that was Petraglia pleading the case for the PBA to Reichert.
Yeah, and Reichert was always pro professional bowling.
Absolutely.
Bowling was always important.
Yeah.
That was what, basically bowling was founded with Brunswick. That's was the backbone of the company. It wasn't the biggest part of the company by any means.
Yep.
But it was a cornerstone.
And I will tell you this, it's still true today, that the PBA, Brunswick still sponsors and backs the PBA. Even though one of us in this chat totally disagrees with that, the support that we give them for the return on the investment that we get. But Brunswick is always steps up when it comes to that, and it's because we just believe in the PBA. That's just the way it is.
Ryan P has same question I have. Were there issues from the other ball companies
at that time?
Yeah.
No, because they're
not.
None of them were stepping up. None of them could afford to step up at the time. I don't think anybody could have at the time.
Yeah, you were with Track at the time.
Absolutely was.
Yeah, they put out an all bulletin type thing. We need to get together and save the PBA.
Yeah.
And they crickets on the other end. Must have been like one of those Western Union telegrams that just didn't get delivered.
No, there was a little more to that. What Jack Reichert offered was a good deal for the PBA and for Brunswick. Mm-hmm. The deal was not offered like that. They didn't come to us at Columbia at the time and say, we have $1 million deal for you for 3 years. And, Jack put that deal together.
Right.
It wasn't the PBA coming to you and saying, hey, I have all this great idea. Yeah. No. So, that was the best deal. And at Columbia, we felt it was a good deal for the organization, but it was a good deal for Brunswick. But we were not going to step on toes and make it a bidding war either.
Right.
Nowadays,
at the time, they were basically looking for a replacement sponsor for the Firestone TOC.
Right.
And rather than just say, okay, well, Brunswick will step in and sponsor the TOC so it doesn't pay $10,000 for first.
Yeah, that's how it started. Right. Exactly.
We'll do a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that was a big commitment at the time, and Jack had opposition internally too.
Sure,
why are we going to give $1 million a year to the PBA?
Yeah, exactly. He just felt bowling on TV was that important. And we feel the same way.
Yeah.
But in those days,
on TV.
On TV.
Yeah.
Hey, Panici's here. He might be able to speak to that.
On TV-ish. One of the interesting things about that time of that era of bowling was our competitors were more honorable. You know what I mean? If there was a deal going, it wasn't like let's go in and undercut him or do something underhanded. Nowadays, it's not so much the case.
No.
I don't trust a lot of people that we compete against for a lot of reasons.
Handshakes are thing of the past.
Thing of the past. We have proof.
All right. Did you go through some questions, Steve? Did you find some questions for everybody?
I've lost track.
Great. I have 2 Phils here now. It's great.
That's perfect.
It's all the way up there. I can't go all the way.
All right, I'll scroll through and find some and put them up.
I just remember the Firestone because after Saturday bowling, we would always go home.
Yeah.
And I always went to my grandparents' house. I remember going to my grandparents' house mostly because my grandpa taught me how to bowl. So he was there with the bowling alley with me, and I always remember the Wild World of Sports, and Firestone was the sponsor, and we lost Nick.
We lost Phil.
Or we lost Phil. I mean,
Phil's the old one. Remember?
My apologies, Nick.
Well, here's a question you can answer. Here, I'll put it up on the screen. Speaking of layouts, is Radical ever going to do a 2-handed sheet? Oh, Phil's back.
I'm back. I got knocked off somehow.
Yeah, you press the exit button. He called me Phil. He called me Phil. I was like, no, Phil's the old one.
Is that it? We're talking about it. Steve and I are working on that. He's working on it. I'm amazed.
That's a difficult ask. That's why I was talking to Buckosh today.
It's tough.
It's so difficult because of the variation of PAPs, and it just makes me nervous because, Earl Rogers right here asked, how do you adjust layouts for different length PAPs? And that's part of my problem with the 2-handed bowlers. If you have 3 over by 2 up versus a 6 over by 2 down, we can't give the same. I don't feel comfortable with the same layout because you're talking about 2 totally different. You're drilling your fingers in different places.
Yeah.
Now, without the thumb, there are some things about 2-handed layouts without the thumb that make it easier. And I know, like I said, I think me and Buckosh is kind of on a parallel path. And the problem with a lot of the layout systems is there's no predictability. And Buckosh and I talked today about how what we're trying to come up with is there is some predictability with what we're trying to introduce. And I am working on getting a 2-handed sheet. And it's just every time I feel like I'm getting towards the end, there's something that happens. It's like, well, we got to take this into consideration and keep working.
Plus, I think it's a fad.
They'll eventually get tired of revving the ball and winning all the tournaments in youth, and they'll just forget about it.
Did you know that?
It's going to be like Pogs. It's going to be a thing in the past.
Yeah, it's a thing. Let me tell you a little side story. So Hammer, when Fab Ball, Dennis Baldwin had it, and they had the 2 plants, one in Utah and one in Maryland. And when the reactive resin ball came out, the best ball on the market at the time was Burgundy Hammer, Blue Hammer, Burgundy Hammer. And when the reactive resin ball came out, Dennis said, I think it's just a fad. Reactive resin balls will not be around that long. And they almost went out of business. As a matter of fact, they went bankrupt. So, I just feel the same way about 2-handed. I think it's just a fad.
What a take.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's just my read on the business. What do I know?
It's almost like you want to go out of business.
Yeah, almost like I want to go out of business. Exactly.
He's at retirement age. He's fine.
I am. I am.
You were at retirement age like 20 years ago. What are you talking about?
Oh my God.
Gosh.
How old were you when I started my first company? Weed Hopper?
I think I was in second grade. Besides,
Yeah,
you didn't start it. You just assumed it.
Track?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
However you interpret the story, but anyway.
Yeah, that's like when a company on Wall Street buys another company. It's like, oh yeah, we started this company. No, you didn't. You just bought this company. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're Piker.
Answer the question. What's he saying? Steve. He's asking Steve.
Yeah.
Good
question.
With the super symmetrical core technology, do you think there will be less regular symmetrical cores in future radical balls?
When Don says less regular, I'm assuming different shapes.
Non-super.
I think he's referring to other companies' symmetrical balls as opposed to ours. The ones that have mundane shapes, you know, little mushroom, little square on top, or whatever they put out.
I'm not for sure what they do.
Yeah, we're not.
So a breakaway core, call it that, would be regular symmetrical core is what he's getting at.
Yeah,
that's why I took it.
Intel. Yeah,
that's what I think he means there.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what's interesting, just real quick. The Intel core, we would consider that a moderate symmetrical core. But if you go back and look at the drill sheets on that, the intermediate diff blew up a little bit. That was our first ball that it happened to. So I think we are far removed from that. But go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the answer to the question is, do you think there will be less regular? Yes. And when we, man, I don't even remember when you tested the snapshot. It was months ago.
Yeah, it was. I forgot even when it was we tested it.
I get so lost in that. I'll tell you this. I'm more excited about the next one.
Yeah, me too.
The next one is going to blow this one
by a lot.
Yeah,
but don't not buy this one and wait, because we're not telling you when the other one's coming out.
It's going to be a while. Yeah, the next one's going to be a good while.
Yeah,
but we've already I think what Phil, what am I, about a year and a half already out?
Oh yeah,
I'm out. I'm working in 2027.
Yeah, but interesting, Steve. Just interrupt you for a second. The slide you put up a while ago, the 30 by 3 3/4 by 45, had a 006 and an 045. That's as symmetrical as you're probably going to get.
Yeah.
So the beauty of the cores, for Don's question, is we have that built in to that ball. So if you want to go with a ball that's a simple symmetrical after drilling ball, the super symmetricals can become that. That's what makes them super, in my opinion, is the fact that the range is so great. You know, we can go to a 006 differential, which is barely asymmetrical at all. That's what probably every symmetrical ball becomes after it's drilling, to an 018 intermediate diff. So I think that's what separates us from everybody else, is our symmetrical balls fill that gap between a twist or a rhino up to a asymmetrical ball. So we try to make them, we call them super symmetricals.
I thought it was super symmetrical because you said so, Phil.
And that too.
All right, Mike K. We've answered this question on a previous podcast, but using the interchangeable thumb versus thumb slug or just a thumb hole, what were the differences in the drill numbers? I know there was a slight difference, but not as much as you maybe thought.
Yeah, Marty Weipert, maybe Weipart. He asked earlier about 315. Yeah, there it is. He uses a natural thumb. So I thought maybe that might be something that I could, because I've been wanting to look at the Joe Pro. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's JoPo, right?
Yep.
For some reason that didn't sound right.
We know.
I'm wanting to I'll look more into that. The IT system and just to show you what some of the differences are. And I say that because of that natural thumb. That would be a little bit of a difference. you wouldn't be able to increase the diffs as much with a natural thumb. I don't know how much difference there will be yet.
Phil's actually got an unnatural thumb. You want to show him, Phil?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to see his unnatural thumb.
And you should be aware of this, Steve, because you guys worked on that.
Yeah.
Double
thumb.
You had it last week.
That's right. See, there it is. It's an unnatural.
Anytime we can get the gag gifts going for Phil.
My God, Mo went nuts when I did this to him. I had it glued on my hand and everything.
All he needs is like the.
Here it is. So just to touch on that real quick about the interchangeable. So people have, I do get questions about this during the week. I get emails and so on. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of interchangeables. I tried them for about a month and it was the worst thing for me. But you could drill a pilot hole right below that as deep as you want. Meaning it's 1 1/4 inch, I guess, or 1 3/8 inches. You can probably drill 1 1/4 inch hole, bury it, and then put the slug in up to the 1 3/8 inches that you drill a regular size. I think you can still do that, can't you? Or not with the one of them you can't. Is that that you can't do that with because it's got to be anchored?
Yeah, that's a set depth.
Right. But the other ones, you can just drill a hole as deep as you want, as long as it's not as the diameter is not as big as the slug or the interchangeable outer sleeve. So people can still go in there and bury it.
To an extent.
Yeah.
The problem we run into is if you go too deeper than the actual sleeve will go where you're supposed to go, because you're only supposed to go 2 3/4 on a lot of them.
Okay.
If you go deeper, there's a chance that something can impact the thumb down there and make it sink if you don't use a strong enough glue, something like that. So you can actually get some issues there. So the way we have it set up with Ultimate is, it's about 2 3/4, give or take, maybe 2 7/8 at the most. But you want to bottom out the bottom of the sleeve.
Can't you drill a hole in the middle of that with a smaller bit?
Yeah, you can go like 1 1/4 or something like that, and just go another inch or so. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you couldn't do that on the it though.
But that smaller hole deeper is not going to increase your diffs much at all.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
All right.
So I have shared those numbers, but I don't remember them.
All right, so Dan wants to know, what are the advantages for supersymmetric versus asymmetric that produces similar post-drill numbers? So if you had a true asymmetric ball to start versus a super asymmetric ball, if you were to get those post-drill numbers identical.
Go ahead.
What would be the difference? What would be the advantage, or what would be the things you see? And the one thing I bring to mind is that pin to spin line where it's going to actually go to on each ball. So the one with the PSA to start with is going to stay there, and the one with the super symmetrical is going to change.
Yes, and the shape of the core, an asymmetrical ball, I can create more asymmetry in the core so that as the ball travels down the lane, it's going to rotate about the axis differently.
Even though the numbers are the same, right?
Yes, even though the numbers are the same, there will be more mass variation going on as it travels down the lane, which is going to be able to create more of a motion, more of a hook than the super symmetrical. But the super symmetrical is getting us closer to that.
Right. Yeah, but you got to realize the super symmetrical puts you on the high end of a symmetrical ball, but also on the lower end, maybe slightly above the lower end of an asim ball. But like you said, the ball motion, because the core shape is differently, how it rotates about the axis is the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a different motion. It's not exactly the same. You're not going to get an asymmetrical motion necessarily out of the super symmetricals that you may want. This is a bridge. It's for people that really, it's a stronger version of a symmetrical ball, but it's also for a lot of people that have trouble throwing asims. They just can't make an asim work. I get people telling me all the time, I get a lot of hook out of my ball, I can't strike. Well, that's not good. Because then you didn't throw enough strikes and you missed a couple of spares, and next thing you know, you struggle. So, we're trying to give a little bridge in that gap, like we did with the Rattler NU. We bridged from urethane to resin. That's what the NUs did. we're trying to create a smoother transition across your arsenal.
All right. I actually got some fun things to talk about for a second. We actually had a viewer send me some fan art. It was kind of funny. So if we ever wanted to make foam fingers,
that's pretty cool.
He made the number one, Dave Airing. Thanks for doing that. Mm-hmm. He sent me the file, and I was like, "You can use it all you want. If you get them printed, let me know if you need the artwork." And I'm like, "Hey, foam fingers, that'd be a good thing for the show." And the other funny thing,
on the wheel.
Yeah, right. We can put it on the wheel. We can put foam fingers on there. And the other funny thing is, I use ChatGPT, right? And I put in.
I don't even know what that is.
It's AI. It's basically AI. So I went into ChatGPT.
What's AI? No.
Artificial intelligence. Anyway, so I asked ChatGPT to give me a picture of a typical Yankees fan. And this is what it spit out at me. Are you ready? And I laughed so hard because it looks just like you. It literally looks just like you.
You're an idiot. I'm not talking to you anymore.
How good is that? That's you, Phil.
That's it. All right, have fun. Have fun. Make mock. Make mock. I store these things up. You know that.
I know. I understand. And I still laugh either way.
You can laugh. Laugh all you wish.
So AI Phil, not only... I think you're just very easy to duplicate because there's just a lot of people that look like you because you got McPhilly C, who's everybody who's ever entered a thing.
Okay.
It looks just like you from the McDonald's guy.
I got
it. Now that.
Now that.
I mean, it's not you. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Speaking of Yankee stuff, Dave Neese, I guess that's how you say his name, sent me a box of books. I got them. Thank you, Dave. A lot of really older stuff, and it's pretty cool. I hadn't had a chance to look through it. The box showed up yesterday, and I was out doing ball tests yesterday.
You were actually testing bowling balls?
Not me. I was watching. No
why do you make it sound so possessive then?
Because somebody has to be doing the ball testing, and somebody is doing the ball decision making. I was out yesterday doing ball decision making.
You were watching balls go down the lane.
I was watching balls go down the lane. Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Yeah, because when I say, hey, I'm raking the leaves. I'm not just watching someone rake the leaves. I'm actually the one raking the leaves.
That's true.
Oh yeah, I was ball testing yesterday. Oh yeah, which one did you throw? I didn't throw them.
I was at a ball test yesterday.
You attended a ball testing.
I attended a ball test yesterday as a spectator. So.
All right, we're never gonna get through all the questions, so we might as well do the fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to do? You want to take another question or two, or you want to go right to the wheel? Apparently, you want to go right to the wheel.
I think we're going right to the wheel.
Okay. Well, we'll go back and look at them. Steve will go back and look at them, see if we can answer some of them.
Steve loves doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I bet he does.
Remember the rules for this thing now for the new year.
Let's go over them. So you put your name in the woo box. You would have done that already, right? And Nick is going to pull out a name out of his hat or wherever he pulls them out of, and then
out of the box,
out of the woo, and then 90 seconds. If you're here, you got 90 seconds to let us know. If you're not here, we're going to draw again.
Yeah, that means I got to go back in the woo box, throw that name away, and pick a new name.
And then if you are here, you tell us you are, you'll get a spin. If you don't like the gift, we'll give you another spin.
Yep. So 90 seconds. You got your clock going?
I will have my clock on the wall. Stopwatch. I got it.
All right. The winner this week
is
Tom.
No, not Tom.
You don't know Tom.
Man. Tom Thornhill.
You don't know Tom.
I know
Tom
somebody.
Thornhill. You got like 85 seconds. Check in with us.
Yep.
So we can get you your spin.
Your time is passing you by.
Dun dun. Hey.
Tom?
I see a Tom T for quad. All right. I mean, it could be you. So I'm going to ask. There is a number in your email that you submitted, Tom. What is the number that you submitted?
4.
What's the number, Tom? Hey, he got it right. The number
All right,
2.
Tom, you're in.
All right, so
Tom, here we go.
This is how it works. We gave away shoes last week. They picked out Power Diesels, by the way. Nice hammer shoes.
Yeah, expensive stuff. They don't pick out the cheap stuff.
No, not at all.
I'm really rooting for a grip sack here. Like
I'm hoping for the first 3-ball arsenal of the year.
I can't afford it.
Well, you're gonna have to take a loan out then, because
take a loan.
I'm feeling magical. All right, Tom.
Magical.
Wish you luck. Remember, if you don't like it, we're gonna ask you what you want to do with it. So you're gonna love this gift. I know it because it's gonna be a 3-ball arsenal.
It's gonna be grip sack.
Here we go.
Grip sack.
Oh no!
Grip sack.
Here comes 3-ball arsenal. Oh, grip sack.
Yes,
right,
baby.
One grip sack. Let us know, Tom. You want to keep the grip? No one's ever kept a grip sack, by the way.
I'm on fire. Grip sack.
Let us know what you want to do there. You want to keep the grip sack?
He's spinning.
Or do you want to respin?
Be greedy, Tom. Don't be greedy.
He said respin. Respin, he says.
All right. Come on, chamois.
All right. So remember, if you get another grip sack, you're going to get 3rd spin. Good luck. Come on, I'm hoping for the 3-ball arsenal.
Chamois. Come on, let's start off my budget. Keep it intact for a little bit. Come on, chamois.
3-ball arsenal. Here it comes.
Chamois.
Oh, new ball. Yeah. All right. Hey, you saved money. It could have been 3 bowling balls.
Last week's shoes. This week a new ball.
Hey, our budget got raised this year, so we're able to give away so much more cool stuff.
Wait a second. Our budget now all of a sudden you're
just like you do ball testing.
You have our budget. Okay. Our bills are due this week.
Okay. Just talk to my boss and he'll get them taken care of. I can't sign for him.
Yeah, exactly.
They yelled at me last time.
Yeah, exactly right. There you
Tom,
go.
You think about what radical ball you want, and I am going to email you sometime after the show and get your information so I can get this ball ordered up for you.
Limits Solid is available, and so is the Snapshot.
Yeah, you can get either of the new ones. They come out tomorrow, so we'll ship them out. Even if it didn't come out tomorrow, even if you got them last week, we would have shipped it out early for you because that's what we do here.
Because we are the #1 podcast at 3:00 Eastern time on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yes, we have dominated that time slot, and we are #1 for a reason.
Right. And everything we do on here doesn't cost anybody anything.
Right. Yeah, we don't want anything from you except for your questions, your chat,
and your loyalty,
and your undying loyalty to our podcast.
And your friendship.
You swear that you will never watch another podcast at 3 p.m. on Wednesdays except for ours.
This could be the most popular time slot in the world for podcasts.
Right. He says, "Thanks, guys. I watch your show almost every week. We need to get those."
Almost. Well, you're almost going to get a new ball.
We need to get those numbers up, Tom. You can't say almost. You could have just lied and said, you're there every week.
Yeah. Hey, for those, send you the ball.
For those almost weeks, he watches the reruns. He watches the replay, so it's okay.
Yeah. That's
right, Tom?
5 reruns. Yes, Tom. All right, Steve. Thank you again. Hey, stay in the chat for after the show is over. I want to talk to you about something real quick.
Uh-oh.
Can you? No.
Steve's in trouble, everybody.
No, he's not.
Uh-oh. He said something.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
No. All right, we'll see you guys.
Steve, thanks for coming on the show and educating all the masses once again.
Yeah.
Beautiful numbers and science of ball drilling and core design. We appreciate it so much.
We do. Yeah.
See
you guys next week.
See y'all.